Good morning. Mark here again from Bait, and I wanted to talk a little bit today about a friend of ours who passed away a couple of years ago now, Captain Jimmy. If any of you fish Wahoo on the long-range boats out of San Diego, you're probably well aware of Captain Jimmy's Wahoo bombs. Let me talk a little bit about Jimmy and a little bit about what we do catching Wahoo. Typically, to locate the fish, other than the electronics, the boats will spend a lot of time trolling. And we've got a couple of videos we've done about specific trolling lures. But that is to kind of locate the fish, and then once you get a hookup, it's bombs away. And guys will be fishing iron and bombs. Iron typically would be like these Sea Strike 33s, Salis. Has jigs that are for that purpose. A couple of different shapes that we stock from Matt. Ketchy, they do these in silver bag and gold rather. Pink and gold being real popular, the green and gold real popular. A lot of good patterns, and what the fish are going to be eating one day versus another, that can vary. The important thing is being able to get some distance on that cast, the right rod and reel, and a good retrieve ratio. On the iron, that retrieve speed maybe isn't quite as critical as it is for a bomb. For bombs, it is critical. Now, in the world of Wahoo casting bombs, boy, in the old days, George or Jorge, who was on the boat on the Red Rooster, and he had passed away maybe 10, 15 years ago now. George loved Wahoo, and I think a lot of us do. Maybe it's crack for old guys. They're addicted as can be. But George used to make them up using like a torpedo sinker and stick on some skirts and the right hooks and that sort of thing, and he had a lot of fun with it. Captain Jimmy got into the long range side. Now, he's not called Captain Jimmy just out of respect. He had a charter boat out of Half Moon Bay up in NorCal for many, many years. In fact, I guess he sold his boat to his neighbor, and his neighbor carried on Jimmy's tradition of making these bombs. And so Shane, his next door neighbor, who was making them along with Jimmy, is now the fella who makes Captain Jimmy's bombs. Now, I first became aware of these things when I was riding the Rooster. And we sold bombs, oh boy, in the old days when I started up from Burns. Burns went away. Ketchy Tackle came on with their spinner jets, or spinner bombs rather, and also some more standard bombs that didn't have the spinner attached. There were a few other lead masters had some pretty simple bombs, using a lead head. But by far, what I saw on the Rooster was these doggone Captain Jimmy's bombs were out fishing other ones. They just were. And they weren't available anywhere. Jimmy would supply the Rooster, and the Rooster would sell them to folks. Well, Jimmy reached out to me personally and said, he can't make all that many of them, but he'd like to supply us so that we can supply them to people across the country, and make life a little simpler on his end, because he was getting calls about them. So we did. We became a retailer of his product. I guess we were the retailer of his product. Wonderful, wonderful bombs. Real simple, in terms of what they are, but effective. So I was introduced to them on the Red Rooster, and then from that moment on, in carrying them, they were kind of a go-to for us. They use a lead head. They're rigged, as typical, with some reflective skirt material, and then a single hook, probably, it looks like a 7/0 to 8/0 size, and then along with a spinner blade for added flash. So these things, you rip fast. You want them on a gear ratio on the reel, no less than 50 inches per crank, and it would be great if we had more. I think there was a reel that Ben produced, too big really. It was a Fathom 40, narrow, single speed, lever drag, old generation. that was something like a 7.3 to 1 retrieve rate, 70 inches per crank type of thing. Pretty neat, for Wahoo specifically, for anything else terrible. The trick with these things is you hurl them as far as you can and you wind them back as fast as you can. And you never stop winding. You get picked up on by a fish, you don't stop winding. If you do, chances are with a Wahoo's hard beak, it's going to come out of its mouth. Doesn't matter if you put a treble on or whatever the heck you do. That's just the nature of Wahoo. They have a hard beak, Think about a bird. They're not going to get hit by a hook inside the beak. Cheek, maybe, a little further down, maybe. Now, most guys, these don't come, they come rigged in terms of the hook, but not in terms of what's in front. So most will use a single strand, 90 pound down to 60 pound single strand wire. You could use titanium, you could use stainless steel. On the steel, the problem is you get a kink, you got to re-rig it. You'll lose test. Titanium, less of an issue in terms of memory, probably holds up a little better over time. Diameter probably similar, and you can tie knots, with it. So the titanium or the single strand. For most bombs from other companies, they're going to be rigged up with 7-strand wire, anywhere from 45 to 135 pounds is what you see. Again, mostly 90 to 135 on that 7-stranded cable crimped. How long to make that leader? Let's see. Wahoo bob, bob cherry, probably goes 16 to 18 inches maybe. That way, I think if you're approximately 15, 16 inches, that's kind of a norm. Some will drop down to 12. But I'll say 16 is kind of a good comfort zone. And so you rig those up, you'll put a ring on the end, and then you'll go ahead and put that on your casting rod and reel. And you hurl these things as far as you can and wind them back as fast as you can. Now, what typically happens on the long range boat, you're trolling around looking for Wahoo. You'll have 4 to 5 lines out in the stern of the boat. You get hooked up, and everybody's waiting by the bait tank. They're getting ready to go. Guys will be bringing those fish back in, and at some point the skipper will say, "Okay, let them fly," meaning you can go ahead and cast out now. Now the guys that are sharp, Wahoo Bob, will be standing back there side of the boat, just kind of nonchalantly with his rod and reel, kind of sitting there, just waiting. And everybody else is crowded around the bait tank, thinking they got to put bait on the wire leader. And he'll be sitting there, and as soon as the skipper says, "Green light," he's hurling off, perpendicular to the stern of the boat. And that boat's momentum, as it's coming up, will move that lure to the back of the spread. And when he gets down to about the distance that trollfish was caught, or perhaps a little bit more, that's where he puts her in gear. The boat's momentum is still moving it, and he's winding like crazy, all the way back to the boat. That's when you get picked up on by bombs. Now, you might get another curious fish that's circling the boat. You're parked on bait, fishing, for Wahoo, and you can hurl it on out there or the iron on out there, and you still may get bit. But absolutely, fishing the slide, as we'd call it, just like in the albacore days, tossing out plastics off the side, it works really, really well. And instead of just having a couple of guys, get potentially hit on the troll, now you can get 5 or 6 guys, loaded up on the sides of the boat and keep a little action going on longer than just those troll fish. Now, let's see. What else can I say about good old Captain Jimmy's? His 2 favorite boats when he was long-range fishing, and I think his first long-range trip was 1977, aboard the Rooster. And he fished the Rooster and the Qualifier. Those were his 2 favorite boats, both great platforms. Qualifier had some issues with the boat. I guess it moved up to Alaska. And I heard, a couple days ago, there was a fire and that boat's gone. But it's been out of the sports fishing scene for some time. It was doing some other stuff up in Alaska. The Rooster absolutely is still working down here. And has new motors and is in very good condition and great skipper, great ownership. But the Rooster really was his favorite boat, and I've got pictures I'll put on the video of Jimmy with a Wahoo and a tuna and that sort of stuff. Neat guy. and very sorry that to have lost him. But that's what happens as we get older. He had lost his wife a few years previously. They were a wonderful couple, and really a wonderful, wonderful guy. And his little innovation on these bombs, refined them, and just wonderful lures, and the best of the type. And I'll say, you'll see a few other ones from a couple other guys out there, and they can make them, but they're copies of what Jimmy did. And Shane, the fellow that owns Captain Jimmy's now, was his neighbor. Shane was a good friend to Jimmy, bought his boat, and is trying to do his part in keeping the tradition alive with Captain Jimmy's, much like Matt Salas does in keeping the Salas name alive, a name that goes back into probably the 50s, making iron, and it's really nice to see multi-generational, continuity of products, in the sports fishing community that way. Hell, sharkbait multi-generational now. As I slow down, my son Sergey is absolutely taken over, and I'm kind of a support guy. So I should be able to go fishing more, right? In any event, that was my little capsule summary of Captain Jimmy's. If you're going long-range fishing, you absolutely want these on the boat. If you are, let's say, located in South Florida and you're trolling around looking for some kingies or some Wahoo, you can troll these things too. I mean, I'd probably be trolling something else, but if they're onto the small baits, feed them what they want. Troll these behind the boat and be prepared to use them, cast and retrieve. You can get bit that way and cover an awful lot of water. Where on the troll you just kind of go one direction with it. When you're casting, you can cover a lot of different areas. And do your prospecting successfully. And there's nothing more fun than catching a Wahoo on a bomb. It's just, like I said, it's crack for old guys. In any event, thanks for watching. Happy to have your support, obviously, with Sharkbait, and certainly, supporting people like Shane and Captain Jimmy's is a good thing too. Good karma means good fish. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching our videos, which is on YouTube, Odyssey, BitChute, and Rumble. Please visit us online or in store. Bye!